Hi, Noah. How are you? My name is Sarah. I heard you were working on learning things about independence, and I'm so excited because I want to tell you something about Sterling Staggs Park and how it came to be. Sterling Staggs Park came up for naming in 1993 at a city council meeting. Because you've got to realize in Independence in the 1990s, there was no Kroger, there was no Aldi, there was no Papa John's, there was nothing up there. That was a huge farm. There's actually two farms that are there now. There was no subdivisions behind Kroger. None of that. It was all part of the farm. And City Council in 1993 finally decided that the park at Kentucky 17 and Sylvan Drive needed a name. So a council member said Sterling Staggs. And when you're debating things, you've got to have a second, and then you vote. So the second person says, I agree, Sterling Staggs. There were no other names given, and city council took a vote, and they all voted to name it Sterling Staggs. But who is he? Sterling Staggs is a longtime member of Independence. And when I say long time, Sterling and his wife Lillian moved to Independence in the 1950s. They raised two children, Sterling Jr. and Sandra Staggs Taylor. So their children grow up here in Independence. Their children attended Simon Kenton. Sterling attended all school functions, but also he went to church at Independence Christian Church, where he served as an elder and as a Sunday school teacher. Then he got involved with Sterling Jr. and the Boy Scout Troop 8. And Sterling actually helped turn Troop 8 around because it was not doing so well. Like they didn't have very many members, so they almost closed it down. But Sterling and a couple other dads got together, got their sons together, and made it work. Okay, so that's Scouts and Sundays or the church. He also was on city council in the 1970s and 1980s. In like 1985, he ran for re-election and he lost. It was so close. The person that won over him demanded a recount. It was that close. The person who won, not Sterling, the person who won wanted a recount because he didn't believe that he had defeated Sterling Staggs. Okay? If you can find some much older people that do remember Sterling Staggs because he has since passed. He passed away in 2001. They will tell you when he was on city council and there was a pothole that popped up on their street, they would call Sterling's at home on the telephone. There was no text messaging, there was no email. Okay? So they would call and say that at 51 Sylvan there's a pothole. He would get in his car after and make sure he always would make sure that there was a ruler, yardstick, or tape measure, depending upon what he could find when he was going out the door, and a pad of paper and a pen. He would find the pothole, roll his car tire into the pothole, get out with his pad of paper, tape measure, ruler, and measure the width and the depth of the pothole. Then after that month's time of getting reports of potholes, he would take it back to city council, and that's how they decided to fix the potholes, as well as a lot of other things. Each council member at the time was responsible for different aspects of the community because there was no subcommittees, things like that. City council handled all the business of Independence because Independence was a lot smaller then. He would also say there was no traffic lights. It was either four-way stops or you just were kind and let your neighbor go first at the corners. And there was no 17 that went on the outskirts of Independence where like you can go 55. That wasn't there. That was another farm. The road traveled from 17 all the way down past where Summit View is now. That was the main drag. So Sterling and Lillian had the two children, Sterling Jr. and Sandra Staggs. They had two children. Sandy had two sons, Scott Taylor, Matt Taylor. So Sterling would, after Matt and Scott got involved in Simon Kenton's sports and bands, Sterling would always be there as the grandparent. He cheered for every kid. One of my cousins was on track team and wasn't doing very well during one of the races. His They said that he got out and ran with them. And it wasn't just Sandy's son. He ran with any kid that would be lagging behind because he was the encourager for the kids here in the community. He cared about all kids, not just his kids, not just his grandkids. Matt was involved in band. Matt was also a salutatorian of his class, and he graduated in 1988. But Matt was involved in band, and so being involved in band meant every Friday night that Simon Kenton had a home game, Sterling was there too, not just to watch the football game, but also to cheer the kids on in band. Then his granddaughter Lydia was also went to a different high school, but Sterling was there too to make sure that he cheered on her just the same. His youngest granddaughter Sarah wasn't the sports fanatic like the rest of the grandchildren. Uh, like the rest of the grandchildren, she was more involved in arts and things like that. So he attended school plays and things like that to cheer her on, because his involvement was very important to him, and so was his family. But it wasn't just his family that mattered. He cared about the residents of Independence. And remember those the city council members in 1993 that I talked about that voted unanimously for Sterling to have his name on that park? All of the members in 1993 were former former scouts of Sterling Staggs. But why is Sterling Staggs Park so near and dear to me? Noah, my real name or my full name is Sarah Staggs. I am the granddaughter of Sterling Staggs, and I'm so excited that you wanted to learn about places around Independence. I can tell you from the whole family, we are over the moon for us to answer any of your questions that you have about Sterling Staggs. Thanks for reaching out to Thanks for reaching out and saying you wanted to learn about places. If you have more questions about Sterling Staggs and who he was, please write them down and share that with your mom. And we would be, as a family, we will love to answer all of your questions. Thanks for watching this video, and good luck on learning about independence.